Hi, Kaveri.
Hi, Dom.
How are you?
Yay.
How are you?
Hey, you're early. How
I'm
are
always
you?
early.
I was
I'm
just
good. How
going
are
to put
you?
on the welcome screen.
Huh?
I was just going to put on a welcome screen so people don't have to see me trying to cover my grays.
Oh, don't worry. Puppy. This is my dog.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey. How are you?
How are you then?
Doing good. I'm
Oh,
just
I
trying.
shiny. I'm going to try.
This is my first time on Zoom, so I'm just trying to make sure that I don't make a total fool, even though I guess
It's amazing, Zoom. We had my my grandmother's, my mother-in-law's 91st birthday, and we had all her Canadian family. We had them all in boxes. So when she came on, everyone was there. It was amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh, look at that. That's good. How are you doing this?
There is a welcome screen, right? Do you see that?
Yeah, I'm seeing a very good welcome.
Can you see me also?
I can see you in a small screen on the side.
In a small box. Okay, yeah. So I mean the welcome screen and the next page after that is just the webinar guidelines, which is nothing. And then after that, I stop sharing. And then after that, it's just nothing. This is just so that people have something to look at when they log in.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I've never done a webinar. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited too. I mean, it's the only way for us, right? In the travel space, this is the only way for us to reach out and stay alive. In fact, the first one we did was with psychologists on how to cope with the crisis emotionally. And then I thought this would be a really nice one. And then after this, we're going to start vicarious travel. So our clients who have traveled with us, they're going to share their experiences periodically, like once every week or something like that.
What, share their experience with you or just anywhere?
No, it's with us. So that way it just brings a little focus to our work, you know, because she'll talk about how it was, the whole coordination process and, you know, all of that, not just the place that she went to, but the whole experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's nice to see you. And I've been following your videos and yeah, I didn't actually listen to your playlist till yesterday. And I just made the assumption that everything was going to be funny on there. And then I saw one song that I recognized and I said, no, that's not a funny song.
I'm not. Comedy and madness and depression are very, very interlinked. I'm a goth. I have no funny in me.
Yeah, says the comedian, huh?
Yeah.
Hima, can you hear us?
Yes, Kaveri, I can.
Dom, that's Hima, my colleague.
Hi, Hima. How are you doing?
Hi, Dom. Thanks for doing this.
No problem. I'm very excited.
So excited. Kaveri, I think we have some attendees also who registered and are on right now.
Who are on now, but I think they might be like 4 minutes early.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm way too early. I'm always early.
Yeah. No, that's fine. It's nice I have you, Dom, because then I can see what the screen looks like. And you can also tell me if I have like drool on my face from my baby.
I don't think you can. No. So when this happens, are we going to get bigger screens? You're going to get rid of the welcome screen, yeah?
Yes, I'm going to get rid of the welcome screen. So it will look like this.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Where are you? You're at home? Obviously, you're at home. Everyone's at home.
Yeah, Hima's there. And then the two of Hima, are we recording? Yeah, it is. It says recording, right? On
What's the deal in What's the deal in Bangalore? Are you in full lockdown?
Yes, we are till May 3rd.
Are you allowed out at all, or what's only for? Is it like us? Like you're allowed to go for the shops, or?
Shops within 1 kilometer radius.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it is. We always copy the British, Dom.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're breaking it all. We're just terrible. It's crazy. Everyone's become net curtain twitchers. Everyone's reporting everyone else. Like you walked your cat for 32 minutes, not 30 minutes. It's just, we've become mini Nazis. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's like that, huh?
It's crazy, yeah. Well, I mean, all Brits deep down want to be sort of junior policemen, really, I think so. It's great.
Yeah, there was one outside my daughter's school. There was one incident of some parent dropped their child off. This is before the lockdown, before the crisis even began. And then somebody ratted on the parent saying that they had been 3 weeks ago to Singapore just through the airport. And
Oh my
then
God.
they tracked down the parents, brought them back to pick their child up and then go. Hey, there's Karin.
Aha.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm trying. Oh, now I see you. Yay! Hug, hug. Hug to Dom and hug to Karin.
Very cool. Thanks.
Hi.
Hi, I'm a bit shiny.
You look great. Who would think you just had coronavirus?
I know.
Have you had corona?
Yeah, probably. I didn't take the test, but I had all the signs that, breathe.
Do you have it badly?
No, not really. No.
How long did it last?
2 weeks.
Oh God, Jesus.
So this is my first day at work.
Oh my God.
My new job. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I know. I think the world's going to be split into people who've had it. They're probably going to get tattoos saying I've had it, and people who haven't had it are going to become like non-residents. We're not going to be allowed out. It's going to be terrible.
I know. I'm just going to go and kiss everyone I see, lick everything. Yeah. I want the t-shirt. I had corona.
Yeah.
Kiss
me. You'll be our new rulers.
Yeah.
Just sent a message to Radhika. She's ready too. So she was asking, shall I join now? I said, yes. Hima, I see you've muted yourself. That's great. So then it's going to be just the four of us whose audio will be audible.
You're very good at this.
Hima, I guess you can start accepting people because it is 4 o'clock. Radhika will be online very shortly. So
I'm just going to.
Kaveri, we can start. We have 26 participants already registered.
Oh yeah, let's do that then.
So I am doing a webinar, and this is the webinar. Who knew what a webinar was? But now we know. And we're talking to India, Sweden. I feel like the Eurovision. Hello, Sweden. Hello, Bangalore.
Hello, 12 points.
So we're just waiting for one more. Radhika's here.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hiya, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
So nice.
Oh, you got a mobile. Look at that. You're moving around. That's very flat.
No, actually, I just picked up my computer and walked across the room. I'm very strong.
You haven't decided on your background yet?
No, I figured it out. It's just that I left my door open and I did not wish to be disturbed.
I'm going to get attacked by my 2 dogs in the middle of this webinar, I know, but...
That's okay.
That's fine.
They're funnier than me, so it's okay.
There you go.
Looks like we have a lot of people on already waiting for us to get started. So I'm just going to go through the customary bits before I turn my PowerPoint off, and then you only have our faces up there. Welcome everyone. I see about 30 people online. I'm Kaveri Singhji from Culture Rings, and I welcome you to today's webinar. The theme is laughter and the importance of it during the COVID-19 crisis. Just to go through the basic guidelines, this event is being recorded, and people who are unable to attend right now will be able to view it later with the link that we share. Everyone who's logged in as an attendee has been muted, so panelists, you will not be disturbed and mobbed. And those who have questions or comments will use the Q&A function that they see on Zoom. Now I'm going to switch this off, stop share, and we're going to get started. So the COVID-19 pandemic is spreading fear and panic like wildfire. There's absolutely nothing funny about it, and we want to acknowledge that. And this is an unprecedented crisis. We are in India's biggest lockdown, centralized lockdown, since the Indus Valley civilization 3,500 years ago. And it's killed my sense of humor. I Googled jokes just to see if I find anything funny at all. And the first one that popped up started something like, one day there was an Englishman, a Swede, and an Indian. And there it was. I didn't need to read the rest. I knew what I had to do. And here we are, bringing you the funniest Englishman I know, the Brit, Dom Jolly, who according to my research is spending his lockdown time curating a sad songs playlist to help people get through the dark time. Hi, Dom. Do you want to say hello to our viewers?
Hi, Kaveri. Hello, viewers. How are you? I'm curating a, just in case you weren't depressed enough, because I'm an ex-goth, a playlist of sad songs. Sad songs make me happy. I'm sorry, it's just me.
And then we have Radhika Vaz, my favorite Indian comedian, also my school friend from, what, 25, 30 years ago?
Surely not.
She's also made people's bellies hurt a lot out of laughter in America, where she lived for a while. And she's right now in lockdown in India's capital city, New Delhi. Radhika?
Hi, guys. I'm actually technically not in Delhi. I'm in Gurgaon. And people who live in Delhi will be horrified if they think that you think that Gurgaon and Delhi are the same thing.
Yeah, we South Indians think everything around Delhi, including Punjab.
It's Delhi. Yeah, it is.
And then we have, not the least, my funniest Swedish friend, the hilarious Karin Adelskol. Did I say that right, Karin?
No, not at all. Karin Adelskol. It's hard.
From Sweden, who is recovering from the dreaded coronavirus herself right now. But oh my God, true to the Viking in her, it's no big deal. She's here anyway. Karin.
Hi, nice to meet you guys. You should have seen me a week ago. I was not this happy or clean or standing up at all. So I'm just so happy to be back.
Oh my God. By the way, I just want to say I'm wearing my Swedish dress.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
And my British underwear on, but my Swedish dress basically. A friend of mine is Swedish, and her daughter stayed at my apartment while I was in here, and they're irresponsible 19-year-olds, and one of them forgot her dress. And so now it's my dress.
Yes, of course.
And I love it. So
I'm wearing Swedish underpants just to fill this out.
Bjorn Borg?
Round it off.
Obviously, what else? I never leave home without Bjorn Borg.
That's wonderful. So maybe let's find out. So each of our guests from their respective country, let's find out what is the air like. Maybe we start with India. Radhika, can you tell us what is the scene like from your point of view, your unique point of view?
Okay, so I mean, I'm currently in the north of India, which has had the worst air quality in many years, the worst air quality. And about 3 or 4 nights, maybe a week ago, my niece called me and she said, just go out onto the balcony and look up. You're going to see stars. It was so exciting that we could actually see stars in the sky because there's no traffic on the roads. There's no there's no unnecessary pollution of people just driving around or unnecessary pollution for that matter. So in that way, it's kind of crazy that we've got the best air pollution, but now we're not allowed to leave the house. So not the best air pollution, the least air pollution, the best air pollution.
You sound like Donald Trump. We have the best air pollution.
We have the best air pollution. Yeah, we have the best pollution in the world. Best garbage.
Dom, congratulations on getting your Prime Minister back from ICU.
It wasn't me, I'll be honest with you. I had nothing to do with that. I will take that. Yeah, I mean, there's a big, as usual, as Brits, we're just grumbling really about everything. So firstly, there's a big conspiracy theory that Boris wasn't, I mean, not only are we so incompetent, I mean, how Trump hasn't caught coronavirus, and yet our entire cabinet has caught it and has left us with a man in charge that I wouldn't put in charge of my car. I mean, really, Dominic Raab. But there's a big theory going, there's a conspiracy theory. Firstly, there's the big conspiracy theory that 5G is responsible for all of this. I don't know if you guys have got this, but here it's crazy. It's the new flat earth theory, and tinfoil hat wearers all think that 5G is basically responsible for it and that this is all an excuse. Someone else told me today that there's a guy called David Icke, who's a famous conspiracy theorist, and said the whole point of this coronavirus is so that someone can put new batteries in all the birds. I mean, it's really gone crazy. But the big theory, the conspiracy theory, is that Boris didn't actually get coronavirus because apparently he recovered too quickly. And now we're grumbling that when he left hospital, instead of going to number 10 Downing Street, he went to Chequers, which is his holiday home. So apparently he's breaking lockdown rules. I mean, we're a sad nation, we really are.
And Karin, I mean, let me ask you first, how are you? I mean, you seem to be recovering from what is obviously the coronavirus. And
yes,
you're still with
I haven't been tested, but I had all the symptoms, and I've never been as sick as I was. It was terrible, but it was kind of fast. Although I've been sick for 2 weeks. I have many friends that have been sick for a month, and I'm happy because I wasn't that.
Mm-hmm.
Sick, I didn't have to go to hospital. But in Sweden, our government had recommended us, it's just a recommendation to stay at home. So the big discussion in Sweden is, are we Swedes really, really smart or really, really stupid? And we don't have the answer yet because we really don't know.
Because you don't have a lockdown, do you, as much as anyone else?
No, so it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people staying at home. We are people that are following recommendations. And then, you know, Swedes, we are kind of strange, isolated anyway. We don't talk to people. So we have it in our culture. But then again, a lot of people just don't care about recommendation. And this weekend, when it was an Easter holiday, people were out partying in Stockholm. So, yeah. We don't know yet. Is this the way to go, or is it the way you just did like you do, lock down everything? We haven't done that yet.
How do people react? Because in Britain, we've all become mini policemen. I mean, there are literally people looking out the window and timing. We're allowed half an hour a day exercise, and we have people going. My neighbour just walked his dog for 32 minutes, and
yeah, but we have that.
I mean, they've become social distance Nazis.
Yeah, we've got that in India too. So I have a friend who has like a smoker's cough, like a really bad, he calls it a dragon cough. And so he was just coughing in his apartment and somebody complained about him.
What, a neighbor?
Like somebody, like a neighbor basically heard him coughing in his apartment like really loudly and complained to the whoever. And the next thing you know, like a health official and a cop and whatnot were outside his door knocking and being like, look, we just got a complaint that there was coughing from this apartment, and he was like,
we've come to catch it.
Yeah, we've come to take you away, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I mean, I live in a really big building complex, like maybe, I want to say like 300-400 flats. So it's 5 or 6 buildings, but 300-400 flats. So it's a lot of people in very close quarters. And I can see why people are getting nervous and paranoid. Like I get it. I haven't reached that stage yet, so I'm not freaking out if I see somebody who's casually not really wearing like level orange alert mask or whatever, but you know, someone just casually got like a kerchief tied around their face. I'm like, okay, whatever. But there are people who are like, they're not wearing masks and there's not exactly 3 meters between us, and there's definitely that.
We've got joggers problems. Joggers are becoming very, very unpopular here in UK because joggers seem to feel if they're jogging together, they feel their relationship will be over if they don't jog right next to each other. And some joggers are fine, but most of them, they just plow straight on. So they don't do any social distancing. Then you have that kind of post-jogger sweat cloud hits you. Yeah. It's just not good at the moment. Joggers are becoming very unpopular.
Like a jet stream, joggers jet stream.
That's it, jet stream, exactly what it's called, JJS. Yeah.
It's a problem in Stockholm as well, yeah.
Karin, what would you say is the big shock factor in Sweden? Like, if I look at India, we're going through a lot of really tough stuff, you know, like I don't have a cook to make my morning tea. I don't have a driver to take me to the grocery.
How are you surviving?
I don't have a cleaning lady who comes to clean my house. So we are going through some really very, very tough changes in our life. Now, what is the difference in Sweden?
Oh, the biggest in Sweden? What would that be? I think like the difference now, it's not really, it's not, I think that social distancing, I think that's a Swedish thing. I think that's as much Swedish as ABBA. I don't think, of course, we have to stay at home more, but we're always at home. We don't socialize that much, actually. And also, we don't go up to people and say what we think. Not even now. If we get really, really mad, we say it on Facebook. I do see, if we should get closer to the subject, I think that I didn't know that Swedish people were so funny, that they obviously are, because I mean the humor has exploded in social media in Sweden. I mean, I think Swedish people are quite serious. We don't joke about ourselves, but amazing things can happen when people are just staying at home, being isolated, obviously. I think it's a big change actually in Sweden.
Do you think the rest of us from other parts of the world would get the humor that you're thinking is funny in Sweden? Do you think Dom or Radhika?
Yes, I think so. I think, but I think maybe in Sweden we don't have that culture like you have in Britain, to joke about ourselves and the situation when it's really bad. Not as much as you have. And I've been working with this for many years, trying to get people to joke more about I mean, especially in bad times, to get through bad times. So the things that I see now, I haven't seen that before. And that makes me happy and sad, but mostly happy.
One of the things I've seen online that really define different nationalities and the way they deal with humor is, you know, when Italy started doing the singing out of the windows to everyone, and everyone in Italy was beautiful opera and everyone was applauding. And then there was a French guy who was doing the accordion and everyone was dancing with their own members of the family. And then we had British guys singing terrible songs out the window and all their neighbors telling them to shut up. And that that's us as Brits. But as Brits, we're like the Swedes, really. We don't really
like... Swedish was one person.
Yeah. Brits like Swedes. We don't like talking. We don't really like talking to strangers or meeting people. So the social distancing is perfect for us. I mean, it's great. It gives you an excuse not to say hello. And the only time we speak, I go out with my dogs every day, and other people go out with their dogs because it's the only thing you're allowed to do. And we feel, because this terrible thing's going on, that we should talk to each other, but we don't really want to. So we stay 5 meters away, which is great. And then we discuss each other's dogs, but we don't talk about each other. So we go, how is the dog? How's he dealing with it? But we never mention the person. And that's about as close as we get in England.
Radhika?
I mean, you're right. It's embarrassing, but I think this whole, you know, the only people who are missing their fucking cooks and their maids and what, I mean, it's this typical, you know, sort of like what you call a first world problem in India. And they're like, oh, I'm so tired, I have to do so much housework, whatever. But, you know, outside of that, I personally think that we are having a hard time with social distancing because we can't bear the thought of not being able to like see whoever we want, whenever we want. I think, I mean, right now it's funny because I'm in Gurgaon where my husband's entire family lives. And normally I would see all of them multiple times in a week. And now none of us can see each other. And I think everyone's kind of relieved, frankly. Like the whole family is like, oh, good, we don't have to see each other, but no one's saying it. But we're all feeling it. We're like, this is normal. We shouldn't be seeing each other that much anyway. We all probably get along much better after this isolation thing has been lifted than we did before. But yeah, I think say that.
I'm seeing people more than usual. We're doing these Zoom things every day.
I know.
Avoid my computer. It's like
it's true, actually. I mean, it's funny how I don't have the hottest social life to start with because, you know, comedians, we always end up going to open mics or whatever, like that's kind of our lives, right, in the evenings. So for me, my social life was going to open mics a few times a week, and then I'm not really in the mood to see anybody other than that. But now all of a sudden that's gone. And so I'm doing these phone calls with my friends, and it's funny because I'm the one like leaving the first time. I'm like, guys, I'm sleepy, I gotta go.
The new thing is the excuse for leaving a Zoom. You go, listen, it's been really great.
Yeah.
But I've got to go and sit in the other room.
Oh, it's terrible. What do you say? What do you say?
I just say I'm sleepy now. I'm sleepy. Oh, and I'm using the housework. It's everyone's being so sympathetic in India in my socio-economic group that, you know, all I have to say is, guys, I've been cooking and cleaning. I have to go now, and they're like, oh, go. So even if I haven't lifted a fucking finger for like 3 days, I'm like, that's my excuse. I hope they're not watching because now they'll know. But yeah, basically,
they made this experiment last weekend to try to do a stand-up, club night, but on Zoom with no audience, which is really, really hard. I mean, that is our fuel, you know, to do stand up without audience is like, yeah, I don't know, to have
That's your panic dream.
Yeah, what? Yeah.
That's your anxiety dream, really.
I know.
So,
or corporate show where they're almost like they're not there.
A drunk corporate show, yeah.
A corporate show where they might as well not be in the room. But it's interesting. I just spoke to a friend of mine, actually, who's a comedian. She just did a corporate show on Zoom.
Oh,
and
I want
she
to do
and I
that.
were just, yeah, and she and I were just laughing because she said, it's weird, obviously, because they have to mute the phone. I mean, they have to mute themselves. And so you're doing the show, like Karen pointed out, to no sound at all, like not even and I said, yeah, but don't you feel like that's how most of our corporate shows kind of go? You'll have like maybe one or two people who give a shit and then nobody else does. So yeah, in that way, maybe those shows will continue. I don't know. But you're right. It's weird. Like how do we go to the next level of stand-up if this carries on for months? I don't know.
Well, we don't. Stand-up I mean, stand-up relies on audience, doesn't it? So
it does, completely.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is stand-ups, because I don't do stand-up. I do more TV and visual stuff. So for me, this is better for me because I'm still making stuff that I can put out. But what's interesting is seeing stand-ups trying to adapt and adapting very well to doing video stuff and trying to think, well, how do I make my funny stuff? But I've got to make, because normally you don't have to worry about the visual. You just get on the stage and do it. That's the joy of doing stand-up. Grab a mic, it's done, whether I died or lived.
Exactly.
But this, you put up there and then it sits there forever and you realize the nightmare we have, like the worst thing you've done just sits there.
And Dom, so then I guess the conspiracy theory could be 5G and you.
Yeah, I mean 5G is massive here. I was going to do a 5G conspiracy. I was actually going to do a conspiracy theory webinar where everyone had to wear tinfoil hats and we could do stuff. But to be honest, talking to these people is so insane. I had to do a bus ride in Newfoundland. We went to one of the 4, if you believe that the earth is flat, which if you do, then you're mental anyway. But if you do, there are 4 corners of the flat earth. And one of them is in a place called Fogo in Newfoundland. So I went there to Fogo, one of the corners of the earth, with 5 flat earthers. And we got in a boat. And I said, well, look, this is it, really. We're going to go. And if you're right, we're going to fall off the edge of the world. And if we're not, you can go back to your job in Nando's or wherever you work. And they refused to accept it. We just went out in this boat and they kept saying it'll come. And I'd go, guys, we've been going 3 hours in this boat. I mean, it's insane. So that sort of stuff we can't really do anymore, but maybe we can, work something on it.
Maybe Karin, you can help us understand, the statistics that I was looking at. In the UK, people going into ICU with coronavirus, there's a 50% fall rate. But in Sweden, if you go into ICU with coronavirus, there's only a 20% fall. 80% people come out alive.
What do you mean fall? You mean death rate?
Yeah.
It's not 50% in England going to ICU. Can't be.
Is it? No, if they go into ICU with coronavirus right now, it's 50.
Oh, thanks for telling me. Great. It's first time.
Not bad.
In Sweden, it's 20. What is it? Is it the Viking blood? Is it the new sense of humor, the wave of Swedish humor that's coming?
I have no idea. And I think in Sweden, we don't measure the thing the ways that you do. I think it's so, I can't say.
Death rates come differently, I think, in different places. But one of the things that really is big in England at the moment is people using that term, like saying Viking blood, to fight it. You can't fight this thing. It's like saying someone's brave when they fight cancer. It's a terrible thing because it means someone that gets really badly ill, it looks like somehow they're being cowardly or
they're
something.
A wimp. Exactly.
Yeah, they're a wimp. You can't fight this thing. This thing is like a natural selection. It's a terrible, like, Darwinian thing. It hits you. Luckily Karen seems to have survived, but she could have got something. It's crazy. That's the terror of it.
I know, I'm an asshole. I shouldn't survive 5 minutes, but
all assholes survive. I mean, we tend to survive. Sadly.
So Radhika, how do you think people, especially I'm thinking of the Indian context here, how do you think people are going to come out of their dark caves at the end of this, considering there are no beauty salons and most of us don't know how to pick our own eyebrows? How do you think?
Oh my God. I'm afraid. I'm afraid to look at what everyone's going to look like at the end of this. No, but I was just thinking that I actually feel Indians are quite self-sufficient. Like, I feel my generation, we did all our own beauty stuff. I clearly, as you can tell, don't do a lot, but you know, most of my friends know what to do, and I feel like we are a pretty self-sufficient bunch of chicks. So I have a feeling that's not going to be a problem. I did see something recently where somebody said that hair dye is going to be the next toilet paper. I didn't make that up, but I just saw that hair dye is going to be the next toilet paper, because now people are like, it's been like 3 weeks and the roots are out now, and it's like, it's too much to deal with. So
there's a there's a lovely hashtag on Instagram that are Corona haircut. People cutting themselves and cutting their children's or their husbands and giving, because they can't go anywhere. And it's hilarious, because obviously we're not all hairdressers.
No, and I'm sure Dom and I will agree. I mean, Dom might sympathize with me here, but that people with short hair, we have to have far more frequent haircuts. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Karen and Harry, you guys could go another inch or two longer, and it's like, it'll be the same more or less, right? Whereas for him and me, if it's another inch, it starts to get really unpleasant for us to look at. It's not even what other people have to deal with. So I actually feel like I'm going to use my husband's beard trimmer, you know, which just seems like a safe way to do this, and just set it to a number 3 setting and just go for it. At some point.
I didn't think we'd all be talking about cosmetic stuff. It seems to be the biggest problem.
It is the most important thing
of the lockdown, especially in India. I don't know how you guys are doing it without your cooks and your cosmetic, without your cleaners and your. I mean, how are you surviving? But having said that, I'm thinking how ridiculous this was. The very last thing I did before I went to lockdown was I slipped out and got a haircut. So I was an hour before the lockdown came in. I got my haircut. I thought, what am I doing? And I thought, I'm probably in there for a long time. And I've seen hermits come out of caves. So I want to give myself the best push.
Yeah, that's what we're going to look like. Hermits coming out of caves.
That's good.
So we have a few questions that have already come in. I thought maybe it's nice to address them along the way. So one is from Maya, who lives in Bangalore. She's from Europe, but she lives in Bangalore. She's asking, how do you suggest people keep up the mood and ensure that they keep laughing? Are there funny channels? Are there things that we can do for ourselves that can keep up our sense of humor?
I think the most important thing is to remember how important it is. Like it is essential to have fun in isolation. You cannot forget that. I think people are some of them are just sitting waiting for things to be fun, but you need to look for them. So just go out on social media, for example, try to find things that you like, or things that you know that you used to like before. It could be YouTube channels, it could be anything. For myself, I'm watching Jimmy Kimmel, his live show. He's doing it from home. It's wonderful. Saturday Night Live, it's doing specials also from home, it's excellent. But it's just so important to laugh now.
Right? You know, one thing. Oh, go ahead, Dom.
Go on, Radhika.
No, go.
Well, I was just saying, I grew up in Lebanon in a civil war, and in the middle of a war, you kind of feel that comedy is not going to be important. But actually, my experience of visiting places from North Korea, I've been to all sorts of weird places, Iran, the darker the situation, the more comedy actually exists. You sort of feel that comedy disappears, but actually comedy is such a coping mechanism, and it is a way of dispelling anxiety. And I think sometimes people are a bit worried about being inappropriate, about making jokes about lockdown, about Corona. Are they being insensitive? And I think that's wrong. I think black, dark comedy it's a real way of expressing anxiety, of actually making yourself feel better about stuff. And I think people are worried. They go, oh, is that a bit tasteless? It's not. Like, we all laugh about things still, whatever. And I don't think people should be embarrassed about it. One of my favorite things to do, it might be if you live near neighbors, is there's this whole thing at the moment. There was a very sweet one where someone put up, there was a cat sitting in someone's window opposite their house. So someone put up a sign saying, what is the name of your cat? And then the neighbor put up a thing saying his name is Basil, and then they had a chat. But then that's really moved on, and some guy said he was in a house and there was an old house opposite, and he put a sign up for his neighbors saying, "What is the name of the pale 8-year-old Tudor boy that lives in your loft that keeps waving at me?" Basically insinuating they had a ghost, which was great. So messages to your neighbors would be really good.
I feel like, yeah, it's true. I mean, there's definitely the concern about being inappropriate, but I think that's not a coronavirus issue. That's all the time. So anytime there's been a disaster, people like all of us are worried that unless we experienced it ourselves, we're sometimes a little bit afraid to say something because it could be. But this is something we're all experiencing, actually. And so, you know, definitely WhatsApp groups have popped off. The least likely people are forwarding so many jokes. I mean, there's, in fact, like almost too much sometimes, I feel. But something Karen said, which is to even go back and look at stuff that you used to find funny, because now I feel like I have all this time. There's no pressure really I don't really have anywhere to go or do anything. And so I'm looking at old books that I used to find funny or that I read in like David Sedaris is like a favorite of mine. He's just kind of funny and low key. And then I have a whole bunch of like the old Adrian Mole. I'm just reading Adrian Mole right now, like rereading it. It's like, I know randomly, like I have these books from way back when. I haven't read them in ages. And I was just looking through my stuff and I pulled out all these books and I'm like, oh, I can read these 3 books, shorts, you know, just stuff from back in the day that made me laugh then. And yeah, it'd be fun to look at now. The one thing though that I did, which I regret, is I found a whole bunch of photographs from boarding school when I knew Kaveri, from like that age to right through my 20s, my 30s, and now I'm 47, so a few of this decade as well. And I was like initially thinking, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm going to Instagram fucking post a whole bunch of throwbacks and this is so nice. And then I started looking at how young I looked and how much life has fucking passed me by. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst. And I just put them all back in the drawer and I'm like, I'm not looking at those. I don't have the bandwidth for that kind of depression right now. Yeah.
There's a flip side to that, right? The happy turns sad very quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah. So I wanted to share with you, you know, because I feel like you pointed out, Dom, that the darkest times sometimes bring humor out of the most unexpected corners. And I've noticed that the people to really pick up and start getting funny during this time have been the police departments of various states. Like within the first 3 or 4 days, a bunch of videos went viral. And I want to share with you what the Bangalore police created. Okay. And then, one second, just figure this out.
This is very high tech.
Yeah.
Here we go. Look at that.
Yeah. So this is, you see it, right?
Yeah, but do we press play or do you?
No, I press play, but I just want to show you where they are right now. They are at, because you've all been to Bangalore. Radhika, you've lived here. Karin and Dom, I've been your tour guide here in Bangalore.
Very good, you were too.
We passed this by. This is Mahatma Gandhi Road, MG Road. You know, every big city has
Trinity Church.
Yeah, Trinity Church, exactly. And these are the cops here giving an awareness. So you can see on this side, you can see a lot more cops. So they have their own audience as well. This guy's dressed as a coronavirus.
Busting some moves there.
Oh, yeah.
Was this what it felt like for you, Karen? Did you see one of these?
Yeah, exactly. Like the one in the red. Yeah, that's.
You share a motorbike with one of these guys? I mean, they're not really social distancing, are they, to be honest?
No, but if you have corona, you don't have to, you can, you know, hang out without the coronas.
Well, this guy definitely has corona now, and they seem to have stolen his motorbike. I'm not quite sure.
What he's blowing is a conch. That's actually a war cry.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so that's actually the Indian war cry.
A conch? I thought that was Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, so I thought I'll try and first get Radhika, since, I mean, she's sister to these guys, same native country. You can.
I am literally the sister to these guys. Okay, first of all, the helmets were crazy. They look like retro shower hats, like from the 70s. That's hilarious. I'm almost tempted to say I would find that a lot funnier if they hadn't been touching up that guy so much, because like Karen said, they definitely have coronavirus now. You know, I think the police have a particularly painful role to play, because like where I am right now, because I live very close to the main, like to a national highway. And so there's a lot of connecting roads, and they are stopping a lot of cars and asking people, where are you going? Why do you have, like it has to be a really, like an essential sort of items trip or whatever. And people are rude to them. People are rude to the police in India because we feel very entitled. If we speak English fluently and have some money, then we think we don't have to talk properly to the police at all. There's no fear at all at a certain level, especially I feel people who own their own cars or whatever. So they definitely have a tough job to do. But I feel like the Bangalore police are doing their best. And those guys are, theater geeks who accidentally got into the police force. This is their moment.
And Dom, maybe I can ask you. I mean, we've learned humor from the British, so maybe you can tell us what you think.
I apologize for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's funny in a way, because in a sense, the whole point of that video was to raise awareness. Now, I said to you yesterday when you showed me that, well, we're all watching it. I mean, that thing went round the world. So in a sense, humor worked for that, because, I mean, you're not going to watch a Bangalore policeman giving you a very strict talking. It's what Karen teaches, I think. It's humor as communication and all that kind of stuff, and it works. But the difficulty is, I mean, I think you're laughing at rather than with them, but who cares really? I mean, the message gets across, so possibly, I don't know who got the message, but it's very weird. Someone's just asked me on this, have I got a virtual background? No, this is my library. So no, it's not.
Wow.
This is my wall of heroes, thank you. Colin.
They're also asking you why you don't have a customary lockdown beard. Can you see that? Yeah.
Why don't I have a beard?
Why don't you have a lockdown beard?
Lockdown beard?
Yeah.
Because I shave. I mean, I haven't gone totally caveman.
I have two questions.
I have a thing called electric razor, and I just use it every morning. It's incredible.
And Karin, what did you think about that video? I mean, obviously it's an effort, and I think Karin strongly agrees that humor can be taught. So after
we had an argument about it yesterday.
Yeah, we had an argument, which was a good argument.
In our pre-chat.
It wasn't really an argument. It was, I know what's right, and you didn't. So
yeah, I felt that I got it right, definitely. But yeah.
Oh, just keep on thinking that.
Okay.
I think, just as Don said, I think in Sweden that's not really our kind of humor. I think but we laughed maybe at you guys or at the guys with the helmets. But as you said, anything is good, and especially now when we have to trust the police and the government, and if they can try to be funny, not all the time, maybe sometimes, it's good. I mean, as I said, we need to laugh, and it's not just to get perspective on the whole very serious. I mean, it's a pandemic. I mean, it's a world crisis. It's a way to survive this just mentally, but also actually physically. It's so good to laugh because it releases endorphins, and I mean, when I was really sick now, I could not move at all. The only thing that I could do was just laugh at things, not at myself, obviously, but it's like a tiniest workout, but it's something,
I don't know, Karen, when I was in Mumbai, I went to laughter yoga, which is not something I've ever done before. Are you aware of that? So we don't need to teach the Indians this. It was the most, as a Brit who just doesn't want to get involved, it was just the most awful moment of my life. But it was incredible. They're like forcing themselves to laugh. And it's like a workout.
It's terrible. I've tried it too, and you like tickle each other, and it's crazy. Yeah, I really don't like it, but yeah, it's good for the body, obviously.
I think it's a very British, Swedish thing. We don't like being told when to have a good time. It needs to be sort of natural. It's like,
I also think with the laughter yoga, I've never been to a laughter yoga class, and again, I understand what they're trying to do, but I don't see myself doing it. But at the same time, the thing I was thinking about laughter, it's one of those things where sometimes if you make yourself laugh, I don't know whether it's a nervous reaction or what happens, but suddenly it can suddenly become like a natural thing. So I think that's how the laughter yoga also goes on that premise, is that because, you know, sometimes when you're in a club or in a movie theater or whatever, and somebody laughs, it doesn't have to be, you may not have thought it was the funniest fucking thing, but if somebody laughs, it can sort of catch on and be a ripple effect a little bit, you know.
Almost like a virus.
Yeah, we have a version both in England and Sweden. Instead of like laugh yoga, we drink alcohol. It's almost the same. Yeah.
Well, alcohol is the only way that we can either kiss people, hug people, or have sex with them. It's the only way we get close to it. To me, when I went to the Mumbai yoga thing, it felt like being in the exercise yard of a mental ward. It was insane. I mean, literally, it was very disturbing. It still like hits me in anxiety dreams. It's like my dream is to have a room of people laughing with me, but they weren't even laughing at anything. It was very disturbing.
That's the thing, they're not laughing at anything, which I find, but again, like, I just feel like the theory behind it is that once you can get that muscular reaction going, it releases all the shit that Karen's talking about, the endorphins and the blood's flowing, and it works.
I just felt shame and sadness, but that's not my life.
You're just uncomfortable and like, I
just don't like to see people happy, which is why I'm very much enjoying the pandemic, I'll be honest with you.
That's true.
So another question that somebody has for Dom here is, what inspired the music choices for your playlist?
Well, I mean, Cavalry found my playlist, and which is it's on Spotify. It's called Songs to Get Us Through This Shit. And actually the very first song I put on, I realized was quite relevant, but it wasn't. It was just a song I'm really listening to at the moment, I love, called Do Not Let Your Spirit Wane, by this amazing band called The Gang of Youths. And then I realized that everyone was like, oh my God, this is really sad, these songs. All my songs are sad. What can I say? I'm a goth. Like, all the songs I use in Trigger Happy were sad songs. And Cavalry came on and did what Channel 4 did when I gave my show in. They were like, why is all this sad music on this? We should have cartoon music. But I think sadness, joking aside, I mean, I am a goth. I love sad music and it actually makes me happy. But I think sadness and comedy, laughter and tragedy, all that stuff, they're very linked. I mean, they're, you know, right on the edge. And often, I mean, when I was talking to Karen about whether you could teach comedy, you know, I'm not denying you can teach comedy or get in touch with comedy, but to me, to have real funny, weird, inspired moments, I think you have to pay for it on the other side. I think you have to have I think you have to live on extremes, really. And I think people that live quite centered, sensible lives, they're probably a lot happier, but they don't touch on those moments. And I just feel that to get really great moments, you have to have very bad moments. This has gone very deep, but so yeah, I think sadness and comedy people are always like, but you're a comedian, how come all these songs are so sad? To me, they're very, very similar things as emotions.
That's how I started with stand-up. I started when I was really, really depressed and ended up in a stand-up comedy course. It's 12 years ago. And I thought, I mean, I'm so sad. I can't be a comedian. But my teacher told me that the more shit you have in your life, the more sad you are, the more humor can you make.
Yeah.
And because humor is all about contrasts and surprises, and so you can't even have humor without really serious subject, or it has to be, and you can't. If it is not serious, it can't be fun. If it is not fun, it can't be serious. So that's why I think also we see this much humor right now, because we're in such a serious situation.
But
and we see that every time.
Lots of art comes from moments like this. I mean, it's terrible, but when you look at wars and when you look at situations, artists go in, you know, artists are quite insular anyway. It's why a lot of it happens in very cold countries. You know, they dig in Iceland for 6 months and they come out with a great album or whatever. I think it is a great creative time. I mean, actually, although writing is very difficult. I have to say, I'm writing a book at the moment. I thought everyone keeps going, oh, this will be amazing. You'll be, you know, the great time for you can sit at home. I just can't. It's not right. We need to do silly stuff, not deep stuff.
Yeah, totally agree. But, you know, I was just thinking about this laughter business and how it, you know, something sort of to what Karen and Dom just said was ages ago, like long ago when I was much younger. I also like sad music because I find it very cathartic. And I only like happy music, like if I'm dancing or whatever. But other than that, I like sad music because I generally find it cathartic. And even if the tempo is kind of upbeat, like the lyrics have to be like angsty and angry and sad. And then that's the stuff I like. But I have to say that when I was like maybe 18 or 19 or whatever, I had this big breakup with this boyfriend. And I sat in my room in my dorm and I was listening to like really sad, like lame songs. And I specifically remember Leaving on a Jet Plane by John Denver. And
wow, you were depressed.
And I was like, ah! And a friend of mine came into the room and she was like, what happened? And I looked at her and I was about to tell her that I'm really sad and that's why I'm listening to sad music. And because it made no sense, we both started laughing. And I remember that moment was that I was so upset and so unhappy. And then when I was asked to explain what I was doing, it just became so funny for both of us because I should have been listening to happy music.
What? But what are you listening to? Dancing Queen? I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't have done that.
No, that means you got no soul then. It means it wasn't real if you don't do that. You've got to go through the process.
In a way, I think your playlist will actually help people, expunge that from their systems.
Yeah, they'll think, Jesus, there's nothing more depressing than that.
Exactly.
Radhika, I mean, just coming back to India again, one of the things that I've noticed, and like you were saying, somebody ratted on a neighbor who was coughing. I've heard a lot less, like in the morning when I used to wake up, because there's a shaft around in our building. There's a shaft around which all the bathrooms are.
Yeah.
And I normally try to get up as early as possible so I don't need to hear the clearing of the throat and spitting of the phlegm every morning. Yeah. But somehow I'm hearing a lot less of that these days.
Because they're probably afraid that someone's going to call the cops on them. And I mean, you guys have been to India, so you know how much we can't swallow our fucking spit. Like, it's just not a thing we like to do. It's like, and then it has to be. And I'm still seeing that, which is the most amazing thing. Like, I take a walk every day outside the enclosure that our buildings are in, down a street. And I do that because there are all these stray dogs that have been sort of, there's nobody to feed them anymore because they used to be fed by all the office going people and all the little chai shops and whatnot that used to just give them scraps. So there are a lot of them there and a lot of people from the buildings are feeding them. So I take a walk. I don't have dogs. So I'm kind of just using that as an excuse to also go out and just hang. And
so every time walk stray dogs.
Yeah, I'm feeding the stray dogs with my mask on. And somehow they're letting me do it. So I'm doing it. And I go every day. And every fucking day, there's some asshole who clears his throat and then spits on the road and then puts his mask back on. I'm like, why are we still doing that? So I think that, in the building, they're probably afraid to like clear their lungs to the same degree that they used to.
Also, I mean, this whole habit, when I hold cross-culture training workshops, which is the other thing that I do apart from tours, one of the first 5 questions that's asked to me is, why do Indian men hold hands when they're walking down the street?
Because they're friends.
Because they're all homosexual. So, I mean, it's just a dumb thing. So we have a big problem with PDA. So if I have a fiance here, going down the road, he can't turn around and just, kiss me or, hold my hand when my family is around. But
you're married, so that would be awkward.
You can do it in general. I'm not talking about during Corona. In general, you can do that with somebody of the same sex with whom you have no sexual relationship. So you can walk down the road with...
Supposedly,
yeah, whatever. Because there are no homosexuals in India, I imagine.
All that's going to stop. How do you think we're going to survive that?
But that's the thing. Like, you were asking these guys what's changed, and both of them admitted that they come from cultures where everyone's like, actually, we're fine. We don't need this fucking socializing. Indians, on the other hand, like, we can't keep our hands off each other clearly. So I think we're having a very hard time. I mean, definitely.
In Sweden, all the dating apps has totally exploded the last months, like Tinder. And do you have Tinder in India?
Yeah, we do. And I have some friends who are on Tinder, but tell me your story.
Yeah, it's.
So they can't meet up. What are they doing? Are they having?
No, like they have ads saying, "Don't meet. You can have a Zoom date."
Oh, really?
I haven't tried that yet, but they, like every other picture, it comes up like "date on Zoom, please."
I have
no happy ending there, presumably.
Oh no, I have a friend who was, she called me. So she's single and she tells me all her Tinder stories because obviously I'm unhappily married and I have none. So she was telling me about how because of the coronavirus now, there's a lot more sexting. And so she said, I never did much sexting at all before. Because she's like, whatever the fuck, I'm 47 and I just meet me and we'll see if it works. Otherwise, I'm not into this texting business. She's just not. So, but she said that now because of Corona, she has to be. So she was sexting with this guy and he was so bad at it. And she's like, maybe I should incorporate the sexting into my real life once this whole thing ends, because it's a good way to weed them out.
What was the turn off? The grammar? The spelling?
I think he was just not very imaginative.
I like your tits, D-I-T-Z.
Yeah. I'm just new at this texting thing and this dating thing, and it's so hard. It's just like, it's like, say something really dirty, like what you say, your bathroom. I mean, it's really hard.
Are you on Tinder, Karen?
Yeah.
Well, this might be the time to tell us do you go by your real name, or have you got a bit of an alter ego?
I'm a Corona babe from Sweden.
Virus free.
I like Zoom, and I have different backgrounds when I'm at home.
Do you have a boudoir background and stuff? I'm going for the intellectual
background. I have a special on the beach, but so
for special time.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's amazing.
I'm actually on the buy and sell thing.
We have specialist dating apps here. I mean, obviously, I'm not talking specialist, but not just Tinder. So I have friends who are very posh and they don't want to meet anyone. So they have things called, for instance, muddy boots, which is a kind of hint that they all have big, stately country homes. So you kind of know that. So there's muddy boots, and then you have guardians.
Farmers. No?
Yeah, but it's not, they wouldn't want to talk to a farmer. They're basically saying muddy boots because I've gone to inspect my grounds, really. And then there's the Guardian app, where basically you can just meet very left-wing people and talk about how you hate Tories and stuff. So there's lots of niche ones which are quite good.
I remember when the dating apps first came out, back in the day. I lived in New York at the time, and Match.com, I guess, was one of the first ones. And then JDate was really big because I lived in New York and there are a lot of Jewish people there. And JDate was only Jewish people. So if you were Jewish and you only wanted to date Jewish people, then you went on JDate. And so on and so forth. I mean, it's,
I've just been sent in something by one of our attendees called Real Dan Meredith. And it's a dictionary definition called corona zone. It's a verb, engaging in flirty, romantic and or sexual conversation with someone you have no intention of dating once social distancing is over, solely because self-isolation is leaving you bored and lonely. So I think this is what's going on.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Yeah.
Not you. I don't know. Can we look out of your windows?
Oh, actually, I have a work because all my stand-up gigs were cancelled. So I'm working at the Swedish radio. I'm a host there. So I don't have work company. I never. So for me, it's the opposite. I mean, I see people every day. I have to have clothes on. It's really strange.
What's outside your window right now?
Can we see out your window?
So this is outside Swedish radio window.
Oh, look, it's live from Sweden. Oh, look at that.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Oh, that's my window.
Oh, look at that. Nice. What about you, Kaveri?
Oh, not so interesting outside my window.
Oh, you got secrets outside your window.
I'll show you what's outside my window. There's an abandoned swimming pool.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Society swimming pool.
Let's see your dystopian future.
And then they were halfway through digging up the outside because they wanted to waterproof the building, but they didn't finish that. So I have a pile of mud and stone.
Excellent.
And then there's a swimming pool further up, if you look.
That's a beautiful view.
Yeah. And then there are these cats that my husband is allergic to.
Oh my God, he's so sweet.
They're not allowed inside, but they have a playpen. And yeah, there's a naked child.
This is getting very weird.
That's my view.
Okay. I like the moving. We should do more moving. I've got mine on my computer, so I can't really move it. It's very annoying.
Okay, so now I'm back in the safe zone.
That's good. See, that was exciting. There's a child, or is it a ghost? We're not sure.
Yeah, the child has followed me now. So.
Yeah. Hello, child.
Hello, child.
This is my life. So I wanted to ask one thing. We have 7 minutes. So in that, I wanted to just get this one thing out that's been promised. How do we look at a certain frame, which looks very tragic and sad? And imagine that I'm born without a sense of humor. Dom, that's the worst nightmare, right?
Yeah.
How do I learn?
I've noticed that in your covering.
So Karin, maybe you can lead the answer, and then Radhika can add, and Dom can also add.
Dom's going to subtract from that.
Subtract, okay. Dom can subtract. But how do you look at a frame and start to see something funny? How do you develop a sense of humor? How do you learn it?
Well, you need to know what is humor, and humor is a mix between recognition and surprise. So it could be things you do or things you say, and you have to. I would say it's like a humor code that you have to learn. And usually, when I work with people trying to be funny, to get funny, they need to start. What do I laugh about? What is it that I laugh about? And then structure it up. And it's okay. I can give you right there, Dom. It's really hard to say in 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I get it. My nightmare is analysis of comedy. I'm not saying you're doing that, but the moment you try and explain what comedy or funny is, it doesn't become funny because it's so subjective.
The only thing I know is that I've been working with people that have never joked and that almost never laughed, and after a while they become funny, but it takes maybe 10 hours. It's not like that.
But that's a social thing, isn't it? Because I would contend that there are certain people that are funny, certain people that aren't, but maybe these people have not been able to, certainly if they're Swedish or British, you know, they've been repressed, and maybe they've grown up in a household where it wasn't right, or it wasn't proper. And that's different to, frankly, some incredibly dull people trying to do stand-up, and they're just awful. And that's what I was sort of talking about, really. It's often people that think they're funny are the ones that aren't funny, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
hello.
I think...
Also, I think
friends again.
Yeah.
I think it's not about them becoming comedians. You know, we're not trying to.
No.
You know,
we don't want any more of those bastards.
even people like me, like you said, you know, people with slightly repressed childhoods who didn't know how to laugh. Radhika knew me when I was growing up, and she has been consistently funny always. For me,
Has Gabri always been very unfunny, Radhika?
Or hideously unfunny.
Yeah.
It was hard being a friend.
It's a real problem when she guides you. You're just like, Jesus Christ.
Come on. Thank you, Dom. There go my sales, huh? There's the
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, I found it very hard to laugh because I wasn't sure if it was right, and also always made the wrong jokes. And, you know, so finally I clamped up and I said, okay, I'm not going to be funny anymore. But I learned to see things as funny and not. So I'm not a comedian. I'm not good at telling jokes, but I think I'm able to see things as funny, even if they're not obviously funny. And I think I learned
that sounds almost autistic in a funny way, like almost having to, and I'm being serious, like almost having to learn social cues as to what's funny or not. And that is a different way of doing it, yeah.
Yeah, because I wasn't born that way. I remember myself very young, very repressed, and not knowing whether to laugh at a joke or not, and not knowing whether something I'm about to say is funny or not.
Yeah, well, hello, welcome to my world.
So can we teach people, Karin? You believe strongly that people can be taught, right? They can be converted.
Yeah. I've done
Gabri.
it now, and yeah, I will teach you. Usually you have different workshop things that you start with to learn how is a joke, what is funny is this in this situation, how can I recreate this situation with something completely different and still make it funny for me. So I think it's the way of look at life almost, if I should be more philosophical. It's the way of not taking things so seriously, I guess. which I did before I went to this stand-up comedian course. I wasn't funny before, and I didn't work with humor. I didn't laugh at myself. I did not laugh at the world. I thought everything was bad, but I found a way to use that to laugh. It's and to
the thing I've noticed, because I never taught stand-up or joke writing, but I did end up teaching a lot of improvised comedy. Because in improvised comedy, the difference, I think, is that there are rules so that you don't fuck a scene up. Like it's like, don't kill your scene partner because then you don't have one. So like, it's a simple
Always
rule.
say yes.
Say that again?
Always say yes.
Yeah, always say yes, like build on the da-da. So those types of rules, and then you just basically, you're a facilitator more than a teacher, and you just get people through the format, So I did find an interesting thing happening in improv where a lot of people who had a lot of, anxiety about being up on stage in front of other people, so it was like a lot of public speaking horror and things like that. The thing about improv that was nice was that you're not intentionally trying to be funny. And that was something that you always tell the students, like, look, just don't worry about being funny. That's not what we're here for. And then the format of improv and just saying yes to what someone else has said and not knowing what's going to come next sometimes lends itself to just naturally coming up with funny situations. So I do think that that is very different from teaching stand-up, which is very different. It's written and it's structured. It's structured. And I do believe that most people who do show up to a stand-up class, I mean, Karen may be a rare exception, and I don't know how it is that you ended up going to a class, because I just feel like a lot of people who go to those classes do think they are funny, like what Dom said, is that they do think they have a chance. You know what I'm saying?
They've been told, oh, you're a bit of a
They've been told that, yeah.
And they're not.
So I'm curious to know, actually, Karen, what it was that drove you to go to the class.
Oh, it was, I had my kids, yeah. It was just a coincidence. My kids were really small. I wanted to go away from my family for a week, and I was going to this paint course, but there was no. So I ended up in this. I didn't know what it was. But actually, the humor I teach it's mostly not for stand-up comedians. It's for people trying to have more fun.
Okay. That's what we need. That's what we need now.
We need laughter yoga. We need mental laughter yoga, which is what Karen's teaching, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It's the endorphin thing. A way of releasing happiness, of almost forcing yourself into changing. I mean, it's a bit like you said. You went. You went to stand up because you were having depression, and I think it is part of that is about trying to teach your motor neurons to think in a different way. Like I'm getting a bit. My daughter's doing neuroscience, so she's filling me with all this stuff. But it is about forcing your brain to be more positive. I'm naturally negative. I love it, and I kind of wallow in it. And you need to be forced to go the other way, I think.
Completely, yeah, me too. My first stand-up set, I came to stand-up really late because I did so much improv and acting and things before that. But my first stand-up set, I remember, was all about the tragedy of not having kids. Like, that's actually what drove me. I mean, I didn't think it was a tragedy, but it did feel like one from the community that I come from. But it was all about that harrowing journey of deciding I didn't want to have children, and everyone's opinions and how difficult that was and how it was depressing and that all is what led me to start getting into the writing of comedy. And since then, that's been a very small part of it. But I just find that every time something bad happens in my life, or I recognize something shit's going down, I just have to wait fucking 6 months before I have a set.
But that's what comedy is. Comedy is a way. It's a sort of safe way of letting out really dark things often, and that's why it's so relevant right now, because everyone's so anxious. Except for Karen, who's had it, so she's totally relaxed. But everyone's really relaxed about everyone's very nervous about it and anxious, and you're at home and you got all this stuff. And comedy is a way of releasing that in a kind of slightly safe way, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. If you were happy, content, I mean, there's no humor in that. There's no humor in being positive.
No.
The humor is in being negative. I mean, we're all gonna die. Just laugh.
What?
Unless you're Ellen DeGeneres, in that case.
I didn't tell you. Yeah.
Oh, look, hello. What's that? Oh, look, I've been cooked a really fine English breakfast by my children.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, wow.
It's one of the things that's really special, is them learning stuff like that. What the fuck is that?
It feels like they've hacked something in half.
It looks like what they did. Come here, my dog. This is happening. Whoops, come here.
Did your dog cook that?
Say hello to everyone. Say hello. This is my dog, Fitzgerald. There we go. No, you just want the toast anyway. Sorry, it's disintegrating now.
Did the dog bring the toast
So
too?
I have a radio show to make here.
Okay, so yeah, we are over time, but thank you so much for all being here today and sharing. So if people want to reach out to you, Karin, to get training, can I put them on email ID or?
Yeah. Come on over. I can make it in.
I don't want anyone contacting me. Go away. It's so nice to talk to people that aren't my family. Like, just to see people that aren't my family, it's really nice.
I just because of this event, I followed, I wanted to tag like Dom and Karen on Instagram, and I did. And I think I may have followed both of you like just a few days ago. And then this morning or the other, something maybe yesterday or whatever, I woke up and there was this photograph. Yeah, there was a really sad looking guy photograph on Dom's page, and I was just laughing, thinking,
that's just me again.
It's on brand. It's very on brand.
Yeah.
That's great. And Radhika, you are also training corporates and sharing, having comedy for corporates, and so they can reach out to you in case that's required, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just, I do a lot of, I still do some improv courses in that way, but I mean, I don't know how that would work online, but yeah, performing, we're all still trying to do that.
And Dom, what does one get from you? I mean, apart from a sad song playlist?
I'm doing these things called the Corona Diaries on my Instagram story, which is basically if you want to see me arguing with my family every day, that's available. And then I've got a podcast coming out called Earworm, where I ring people around the world who don't know that I'm ringing them, and I have my favorite band's Baby Bird soundtrack.
Follow your diary. Is that on Facebook, your diary? Yeah?
No, my Corona Diaries are on Instagram, which is Real Dom Jolly, because obviously there are a lot of fakes.
All right. That's great. Thank you all so much. We are 5 minutes over time, and I'm conscious only because of Karin's radio show coming up.
Yeah, because I'm not busy at all. We're just sitting here.
And for the audience, before we sign out, just want to share that we're going to be doing Vicarious Travel starting next week. So April 25th is our first show where you're going to travel with my company Culture Rings through the actual travelers, our clients who have gone to remote places. So Christine Gibbons-Nigida is going to take us to Gujarat. So
you are a very, very good guide, Kabri, I have to say. I really loved my day in Bangalore. It was amazing. It was great.
Thank you. Really recommend.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And Corona.
Thanks very much, guys. Right, goodbye.
Bye.
See how cultural we are. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
My first leave meeting? Yes.